The whispers died as Commander Elena Reyes entered the Emergency Security Council chamber. 50 pairs of eyes tracked her movement, some hopeful, others condemning. 3 days had passed since the Vexnar battlecruisers positioned themselves in low Earth orbit, their world-killer weapons trained on major population centers. Commander Reyes, General Santos acknowledged, his voice carrying across the room. You understand what you're volunteering for? Elena's spine straightened. At 36, with 15 years in special tactics, she'd faced death before, but never like this. I do, sir. The holoscreen behind him displayed the ultimatum that had thrown Earth into chaos. One elite human warrior offered as tribute to the Draconis gods, or planetary sterilization would commence. The Vexnar ambassador, a towering reptilian with copper-scaled skin, had delivered the terms with religious fervor rather than military calculation. This is barbaric, protested the European Union representative. We should launch everything we have at them. And achieve what exactly? Elena's voice cut through the panicked murmurs. Their shields withstood our kinetic bombardment tests. We need time. She approached the central display and brought up tactical scans she'd captured during the Vexnar demonstration of power. Their ceremonial armor has vulnerabilities here and here, she indicated, zooming in on microscopic gaps near joint articulations. And their fleet formation suggests their command structure is rigidly hierarchical. General Santos studied her, with narrowed eyes. When the session concluded, he intercepted her in the corridor. My office, now. Behind closed doors, Elena revealed the full extent of her plan. I'm not volunteering as a sacrifice, sir. I'm volunteering as an infiltrator. This is a suicide mission, Santos said flatly. Perhaps, Elena acknowledged. But if their religious texts are as rigid as their military doctrine, they won't expect a sacrifice to fight back. I need 3 things. A subdermal locator that can evade their scans, the ceramic combat knife from R&D, and a promise that Earth will be ready if I fail. 12 hours later, Elena found herself in a Vexnar transport shuttle, her limbs heavy, from sedatives that would have incapacitated anyone without her specialized counteragent implants. Through half-lidded eyes, she memorized every detail, the ship's layout, the guard rotations, the strange symbols on data screens. The Vexnar High Priest himself, Tizal, supervised her transfer to the preparation chamber. His ceremonial headdress framed a face devoid of mercy. The human awakens, he noted, mandibles clicking with amusement. Your species fascinates me. So physically unimpressive, yet you resist the inevitable with such conviction. Elena allowed herself to appear disoriented as attendants dressed her in elaborate ceremonial garb, robes designed to restrict movement while highlighting vulnerability. The tracking implant they inserted beneath her collarbone sent sharp pain through her chest. With practiced sleight of hand, she disabled its transmission while their attention was elsewhere. Your planetary leaders speak of diplomacy, Tizal continued, of peaceful coexistence. Such delusion. The universe respects only strength and submission to natural order. On Draconis Prime, you will understand your species' proper place in the cosmic hierarchy. As they secured the final bindings, Elena's fingers brushed against the ceramic blade she'd concealed within the ritual wrappings. A flicker of satisfaction crossed her face, too brief for her captors to notice. Tizal leaned close, his breath hot against her ear. Your species has such delusions of significance. How satisfying it will be when you realize in your final moments how utterly inconsequential humans truly are. Elena's eyes met his, clear and defiant. We'll see who learns what about whom, she whispered. The ceremonial pod screamed through Draconis Prime's sulfurous atmosphere, its trajectory more weapon than transport. Elena braced against the violent descent, using each bone-jarring impact to test her restraints. The sedatives they'd administered should have left her barely conscious. Instead, adrenaline sharpened her focus as she worked her right hand free. 3 minutes to impact. The planet below was a nightmare landscape of black glass and volcanic fury. Through the viewport, she glimpsed massive Vexnar temples surrounding an arena carved from ancient lava flows. 2 minutes. Elena dislocated her thumb with practiced efficiency, slipping her left hand free. The ceramic blade, still concealed in her ceremonial wrappings, found its way to her palm. Impact. The pod slammed into the center of the arena, its outer shell cracking open like a grotesque egg. Acrid smoke billowed around her as Elena assessed her injuries. Bruised ribs, possible concussion, but nothing debilitating. The arena's viewing platforms, towering 50 meters above, teemed with Vexnar spectators. Their collective hiss of anticipation carried across the sulphurous air. Elena emerged not as the stumbling, terrified sacrifice they expected, but in a combat-ready stance. Her eyes scanned the terrain, identifying choke points, defensive positions, and potential weapons among the volcanic rocks. "The offering resists," Tizal's voice boomed across the arena. "Witness how the gods punish such arrogance." A massive gate opened in the far wall. The gathered Vexanar fell silent as the first Draconis emerged. 20 meters of midnight scales and predatory grace. Bioluminescent patterns pulsed along its flanks in angry crimson waves. 6 limbs moved with unsettling coordination. Its serpentine neck supported a wedge-shaped head with crystalline eyes that fixed on Elena with unmistakable intelligence. The creature's roar shook the arena, but Elena remained motionless, studying its movement pattern. Something felt off. The attack wasn't as direct as evolutionary instinct would dictate. The Draconis circled, herding her toward a corner where sulfur vents hissed toxic clouds. "Fascinating," she muttered, retreating strategically. "You're not hunting at random." The Vexanar crowd's bloodthirsty enthusiasm crescendoed as Elena found herself backed against the vents, the massive predator closing in. Tizal leaned forward on his viewing platform, mandibles twitching in anticipation of the kill. The Draconis lunged, but a fraction slower than its musculature suggested possible. Elena made her decision in microseconds, diving not away from, but toward the creature. She rolled beneath its primary striking limb and plunged her ceramic blade into the transparent membrane protecting its left eye. The Draconis recoiled with a shriek that silenced the arena. Luminescent fluid splattered the black glass as the creature thrashed in pain and, Elena was certain, surprise. The moment of shock gave her the opening she needed. Elena sprinted toward a fissure in the arena wall barely large enough for a human to squeeze through. Behind her, the wounded Draconis recovered with unnatural speed, pursuing with calculated fury. The Vexnar spectators erupted in chaos as Elena disappeared into the planet's depths. Never in their recorded history had a sacrifice survived the first encounter, much less drawn blood from a god. Inside the labyrinthine tunnel system, Elena navigated by touch and the dim glow of bioluminescent fungi. The passage narrowed, then opened into a larger cavern where ancient carvings covered the walls. Primitive images of Vexnar ships descending on worlds aflame. A sudden tremor shook the tunnels. Rocks crashed down behind her, sealing the passage, and cutting off her pursuers. When the dust settled, Elena found herself in absolute darkness, until dozens of small, blue bioluminescent points winked into existence around her. Eyes, watching, waiting, and somehow, Elena knew, measuring. 4 days into survival, Elena's military rations had dwindled to nothing. She crouched beside a subterranean pool, fashioning a crude spear from volcanic glass and a strip of her ceremonial garb. The abandoned structure she'd claimed as shelter, some kind of monitoring station, offered protection and mysteries in equal measure. Strange technology, neither human nor Vexnar, lined the walls. Dormant consoles, alien script. Most intriguing, images of the Draconis in various evolutionary stages. A distant rumble signaled another Vexnar hunting party. Their frustration echoed through the tunnels, sacred protocol violated by her continued survival. Elena smiled grimly. The hunters were becoming predictable, following the same search patterns, making the same mistakes. She'd spent the morning setting deadfall traps along their likely approach. Now, she listened for the telltale crash and screams. There. Elena approached, cautiously, spear ready. The trap had caught a lone Vexnar soldier, his leg crushed beneath fallen rocks. Third cast, judging by his simpler armor. The soldier hissed threats, mandibles clicking in terror, copper scales dulled with dust and blood. "Be still," Elena commanded, kneeling beside him. Rather than finishing him, she examined the injury. "I'm going to help you." The soldier froze in confusion as Elena applied a tourniquet fashioned from her garments. "You should kill me," he managed in halting English. "What's your name?" she asked, ignoring his statement. "Kex, third caste engineer." Pain made his voice raw. They promised glory for capturing the human who injured a god. Elena applied a poultice of fungal spores she'd discovered had analgesic properties. "Is that what they told you I did?" "Injured? A god." She laughed softly. "Your gods seemed suspiciously careful in their attack patterns." Kex's inner eyelids fluttered in what Elena had learned indicated surprise. "The high priests say humans are bloodthirsty savages. And yet," Elena gestured to his bandaged leg, "which of us came hunting the other?" A strange chittering echoed through the tunnels. Not Vexnar communication. Elena tensed, recognizing the sound of juvenile Draconis. She'd encountered several during her exploration, always at a distance. "We must hide," Kex whispered urgently. "The young ones hunt in packs." Elena helped him into a narrow crevice as the chittering grew louder. Through the shadows, she saw a smaller Draconis, perhaps 6 meters long, thrashing in a Vexnar electrified net trap. The creature's bioluminescent patterns flashed in distress, electric blue rather than the adult's crimson. "One of your traps?" Elena asked Kex. "High caste hunters. They test their technologies on juveniles." His voice held unexpected shame. Despite every survival instinct screaming against it, Elena moved toward the trapped creature. Its crystalline eyes tracked her, intelligence unmistakable in their depths. "What are you doing?" Kex hissed. "It will kill you." "Maybe." Elena examined the trap's mechanism. "Or maybe there's more happening on this planet than your priests have told you." She used her ceramic blade to short-circuit the trap's power source. The net fell away. The juvenile Draconis sprang free, but instead of attacking, regarded Elena with unnerving stillness. Its head tilted, bioluminescent patterns shifting to a pulsing purple. After a long moment, it chirped once and disappeared into the tunnels. That night, Elena woke to Kex's terrified whisper. The juvenile Draconis had returned. It stood at the entrance to their shelter, dropping a freshly killed cave dweller before retreating into darkness. "Impossible," Kex breathed. "The gods do not show gratitude to prey." "Unless," Elena finished, watching the juvenile's retreating form, "we're not what they told you we are, and neither are they." "These symbols match nothing in Vexnar scripture," Kex whispered, tracing the alien script with reluctant fascination. His wounded leg had healed enough to walk with Elena's makeshift crutch. "This facility predates our arrival on Draconis, Prime." Elena nodded, studying the abandoned monitoring station's layout. 7 days of careful exploration had revealed a complex much larger than she'd initially discovered. Your people weren't the first advanced civilization here. They'd ventured deeper into the facility, following power conduits that still hummed with residual energy. The juvenile Draconis, whom Elena had named Spark for its distinctive electric blue luminescent patterns, occasionally shadowed them from a distance. "There," Elena pointed to a sealed door with more elaborate markings. "That looks important." Kex worked the ancient mechanism with engineer's precision. "These systems were built by the architects," he admitted, voice low as if fearing punishment for speaking the name. "The forbidden histories mention them, the species that inhabited this world before we brought the light of civilization." "Before you conquered them, you mean?" Elena corrected gently. The door slid open with a hiss of preserved atmosphere. Inside, a laboratory sprawled in pristine condition, preserved by environmental seals. Holographic displays flickered to life, responding to their presence. Three-dimensional models of Draconis neural systems rotated above central pedestals. "This is blasphemy," Kex breathed but couldn't look away. Elena approached the main console, recognizing its design logic despite its alien construction. "Help me understand these controls." Kex hesitated, religious conditioning warring with scientific curiosity. Finally, he stepped forward. "This activates the primary archive." The room darkened as a holographic recording materialized, a slender, vaguely amphibian being in laboratory attire, addressing an unseen audience. "Final research log," Narenvoss speaking. "The Vexnar invasion has reached the capital. Our remaining scientists have dispersed with copies of our findings. For any who discover this facility, what the Vexnar worship are not gods, but our world's indigenous apex species, the Draconis. They were highly intelligent beings with complex electromagnetic communication before the Vexnar modified them into weapons." Elena exchanged shocked glances with Kex, whose copper scales had paled to bronze. "Our research confirms the Draconis retain their higher functions despite Vexnar control implants," the recording continued. "More importantly, they're developing resistance. Our neural interface prototypes allow direct communication with their electromagnetic sensory organs. They understand their enslavement and have begun selectively breeding to enhance their resistance to control." A sudden alarm blared. The hologram fragmented as emergency systems activated. "Proximity alert," Kex translated, checking the security. Display. Vexnar elite guards, led by Scion Vrex. "Who?" Elena asked, downloading data to a portable device she'd found. "Tazal's son, the most ruthless hunter in the priesthood." Kex's voice trembled. "He'll execute me as a heretic." The laboratory doors slammed shut as heavy footsteps approached. Elena readied her makeshift weapons, positioning herself beside the only entrance. Through small observation ports, she counted 6 elite guards with Vrex at their center. A Vexnar, male with crimson ceremonial markings and cold, calculating eyes. "The human and the traitor are cornered," Vrex announced. "Prepare to purge this blasphemy." As the guards positioned breaching charges, a familiar chittering echoed through the ventilation system. Elena smiled grimly. "They have reinforcements. Coming," she whispered to Kex. The ceiling exploded inward. Spark and 3 massive adult Draconis crashed into the corridor, attacking the Vexnar with coordinated precision. In the chaos, Elena glimpsed one of the adults deliberately operating a door control panel, an action requiring complex understanding of technology. "Run!" Elena grabbed Kex and a strange device from the lab. They escaped down a maintenance shaft. As battle raged behind them, once safe in deeper tunnels, Elena activated the device. It projected schematics of Draconis neural systems alongside what appeared to be a communication protocol. "The architects were building a translator," she breathed. "A way to talk with the dragons." "Attempt 17, Elena muttered, adjusting the neural interface device salvaged from the architect lab. 12 days since her arrival on Draconis Prime, and Vexnar propaganda broadcasts now proclaimed her dead, a convenient lie to maintain their religious narrative. The makeshift communication center she'd established in a deep cavern was a blend of scavenged technology and intuition. Kex, increasingly disillusioned with Vexnar society, had proven invaluable in translating the technical aspects of the architect device. "The calibration is still off," he observed, examining holographic readouts. "The electromagnetic frequency needs to match Draconis neural patterns more precisely." Elena nodded, feeling fatigue deep in her bones. Previous attempts had resulted in painful neural feedback, like migraines multiplied by lightning strikes. But each failure yielded data, refinements. "One more attempt," she said, placing the modified headset over her temples. Spark has been waiting patiently. The juvenile Draconis, now a constant companion, lay coiled nearby. Its bioluminescent patterns pulsed with what Elena had come to recognize as anticipation. "Ready?" she asked both Kex and Spark. At Kex's nod, she activated the device. Immediately, colors exploded behind her eyelids, kaleidoscopic patterns unlike anything human neurology was designed to process. Elena gasped, fighting the instinct to tear the headset off. Neural patterns stabilizing, Kex reported, watching. The architect monitors. Syncing with Spark's electromagnetic emissions. The chaos gradually resolved into something more structured. Not words, but impressions, sensations, concepts. Spark's patterns intensified, head tilted in concentration. Danger, prey, ally, curiosity. The concepts weren't spoken but felt. A direct neural download bypassing language entirely. Elena's mind struggled to translate the alien thought patterns. "It's working," she whispered. "I can feel what Spark is thinking." Elena, different protector, hope. With each exchange, the translation became clearer. Elena sensed Spark's history, hatched in captivity, destined for combat training, but secretly part of something larger. The Draconis weren't just intelligent. They had been fully sentient for generations, hiding their cognitive abilities from their Vexnar oppressors. Follow important elders, waiting. "Spark wants us to go with him," Elena translated for Kex. "There are others, a community." Kex's scales rippled with apprehension. "If what you're saying is true, my entire civilization is built on a lie. Would that be so surprising?" Elena asked gently. They followed Spark deeper into the planet's crust, through tunnels that showed signs of deliberate engineering, not natural formation. After an hour's journey, they emerged into a cathedral-like cavern that took Elena's breath away. Hundreds of Draconis, from small juveniles to massive elders, gathered in concentric circles. Bioluminescent patterns created a living tapestry across scales of every hue. At the center stood an ancient Draconis twice the size of any Elena had yet seen, its scales weathered to pale ivory, eyes like ancient nebulae, welcome human breaker of chains. The neural connection expanded exponentially as the elder, the memory keeper, shared the true history of Draconis Prime. Images flooded Elena's consciousness. A peaceful, highly intelligent species, nearly exterminated by Vexnar invasion centuries. Ego. The survivors genetically modified into living weapons. A religion constructed to control them. And the secret rebellion. Generations of Draconis selectively breeding to recover their original intelligence, while maintaining the appearance of being mere predators. Waited many lifetimes for catalyst opportunity. Elena understood with sudden clarity. "They've been waiting for the right moment to revolt," she told Kex, whose mandibles hung slack in shock. "And they think I'm it. Human adaptability, unexpected, valuable. Question Help Freedom Alliance?" The memory keeper's ancient eyes fixed on Elena, awaiting her answer. Through the neural link, she felt the weight of an entire species' hope resting on her shoulders. "Yes," Elena replied without hesitation. "We'll help each other." Blasphemy spreads like plague through the lower castes, Tizal hissed, reviewing security footage on the mothership's command deck. 16 days since the human sacrifice, and instead of reinforcing religious control, the ritual had sparked unprecedented unrest. Unauthorized transmissions circulated throughout the fleet. Grainy footage of the human living among gods, treating a third-caste engineer as equal, surviving where sacrifices should perish. Questions emerged where once was only obedience. "The human must be eliminated," Vrex insisted, his failed hunting expedition a personal humiliation. "Allow me another attempt, Father." Tizal's inner eyelids flickered with calculation. "Take our experimental neural disruptors. If the Draconis have been corrupted by human influence, we must restore proper order." On the planet's surface, Elena's alliance with the Draconis advanced rapidly. The neural interface now allowed near-seamless communication with Spark, and through him, the memory keeper. Kex worked tirelessly to adapt Vexnar communication technology, creating a secure channel to monitor enemy movements. "We've intercepted their tactical feeds," Kex reported, his former loyalty to the Vexnar hierarchy fully dissolved by the truth. Vrex leads a specialized hunter squadron equipped with experimental weapons designed to target Draconis neural systems. Elena studied the topographical holograms the memory keeper had provided. "We need to warn our people, but we also need to expose the truth to the Vexnar population," Their entire society is manipulated through religious fear. Surface facility communication, hub opportunity, Spark suggested through the neural link. Defiant. Plan crystallized quickly. Infiltrate a Vexnar communication hub on the planet's surface. Broadcast irrefutable evidence of Draconis intelligence to every ship and colony in the system. Simple in concept, nearly impossible in execution. Under cover of volcanic ash storms, Elena, Kex, and Spark approached the facility, a squat, fortified structure, bristling with transmission equipment. Using Kex's access codes and knowledge of patrol patterns, they penetrated the outer security perimeter. "We have 4 minutes before the security system cycles," Kex whispered, bypassing the inner door controls. The main transmission center was unmanned, automated systems maintained by periodic technician visits. Elena inserted the data crystal containing compiled evidence. Draconis demonstrating tool use, complex problem solving, coordinated hunting, undeniable proof of sapience. "Uploading now," she murmured, fingers dancing across alien interfaces. Cold voice cut through the room. The corrupting influence reveals itself. Vrex stood in the doorway, flanked by elite guards carrying ominous weapons with pulsing blue cores. His eyes fixed on Kex with religious hatred. "Third caste filth. You betray your species for human lies." Elena positioned herself protectively. Before her friends as Spark's patterns flashed warning signals. "They're not lies," she countered. "Your entire religion is the lie, control through manufactured fear." "Irrelevant." Vrex leveled his neural disruptor at Spark. "The natural order will be restored." Chaos erupted as Spark lunged toward the ceiling air ducts. Energy beams sliced through equipment. Elena tackled Vrex while Kex desperately worked to complete the transmission. An energy blast caught the engineer in the chest, throwing him against the console. "The upload," Kex gasped, life fading from his eyes. "Almost complete." Elena reached him as his breathing faltered. "Stay with me." "Too late for me," he whispered. "Not too late for truth." With his final strength, Kex activated the facility's power core overload sequence. "Run," he urged. "This will attract every Draconis within kilometers." Elena escaped with Spark through maintenance tunnels as the facility exploded behind them. The blast illuminated the night sky, visible from orbit, and as Kex had predicted, drew Draconis from across the region. From a ridge overlooking the burning complex, Elena watched Vrex's surviving soldiers face dozens of adult Draconis moving, with unmistakable tactical coordination. The soldiers' helmet cameras broadcast their deaths and the undeniable intelligence of their killers to every Vexanar ship and colony. Through her neural link, Elena sensed hundreds of minds awakening to possibility. The upload had succeeded, the revolution had begun. The skies above Draconis Prime blazed with orbital bombardment, desperate sacrilege from a priesthood losing control. Tazal had declared holy purification, targeting sacred grounds he'd once forbidden anyone to desecrate. 21 days since, Elena's arrival and the Vexnar Empire fractured along fault lines of revealed truth. "The human corruption must be excised," Tazal announced from his flagship, voice broadcasting across all frequencies. "The gods test our faith through this trial." But in the lower decks of the same vessel, third caste engineers sabotaged weapons, systems. Second caste scientists whispered of evolutionary theory and historical manipulation. The forbidden recordings spread despite purges and executions. On the planet's surface, war erupted across volcanic plains. Elite Vexnar troops deployed forbidden technologies, massive weapons that disrupted the electromagnetic fields Draconis used for communication and coordination. Hundreds of reptilian resistance fighters, inspired by Kex's sacrifice, fought alongside their former gods. At the center of it all, Elena functioned as the neural nexus between species. The architect interface, modified and strengthened, allowed her to interpret between Draconis swarm thinking and individual Vexnar tactics. Flank vulnerability exploit came urgent impressions from Draconis scouts. Third quadrant defenses weakening, Elena translated for the rebel commanders. Redirect air support. What neither the Vexnar religious leadership nor their military strategists had anticipated, humans processed chaos differently. Where Draconis thought in collective patterns and Vexnar in rigid hierarchies, Elena's mind created adaptive strategies that continuously evolved. She intuitively grasped battlefield dynamics that bewildered both allies and enemies. The memory. Keeper's voice resonated through the neural network. Ancient temple danger, Tazal descending. Elena processed the warning instantly. Tazal has left orbit. He's heading for the original temple complex. The significance wasn't lost on her. The temple, the first site where genetically modified Draconis had been presented as gods centuries ago, contained technologies even the Resistance hadn't fully explored. He's desperate, Elena told Spark, who had grown remarkably in both size and neural complexity during their weeks together. We need to intercept him. With a strike force of Draconis and rebel Vexnar, Elena infiltrated the temple's perimeter as Tazal's personal guard secured the inner sanctum. The battle cost them dearly. Dozens of allies fell to specialized weapons that targeted neural systems, causing Elder Draconis to collapse in agony. Hidden path ancestral memory, the memory keeper shared, sending images of maintenance tunnels, preserved in generational knowledge. Elena led her remaining team through forgotten passages, guided by memories older than the Vexnar occupation. They reached the central chamber as Tazal activated an ancient mechanism. The temple's true purpose revealed at last. Behold the truth of gods, Tazal hissed as Elena emerged from concealment. They were never more than tools. Sophisticated weapons requiring sophisticated control. The device pulsed with energy, sending crippling signals through implants still embedded in older Draconis. Across the battlefield, hundreds of elder dragons collapsed, neural systems overwhelmed. This is your religion? Elena challenged, advancing, despite the guards surrounding Tazal. Control through pain? Worship through enslavement? What would humans build with our technology? Tazal countered, mandibles clicking in derision. Your species has enslaved itself repeatedly throughout your short history. The difference, Elena said, is that we evolve. We learn from mistakes. Tazal's hand moved to a secondary control panel. Learning requires survival. Horror dawned. As Elena recognized the sequence, a planetary destruct mechanism, Tazal would destroy the entire world rather than lose control. What makes you monsters, he hissed, is that you've infected even the gods with your chaos. Elena met his gaze unflinchingly. We didn't bring chaos. We brought choice. As Tazal's claw descended toward the final activation sequence, Spark launched forward in desperate sacrifice. The Varaxian dreadnought Eternal Conquest emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Sol system, its crystalline hull still bearing the battle scars from 17 conquered worlds. The massive vessel resembled a predatory insect crafted from obsidian and chrome, its segmented body bristling with weapon ports that glowed with a sickly violet light. On the command deck, Admiral Calzan watched Earth's blue sphere through narrowed compound eyes, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the ambient illumination. He absently fingered the collection of alien skulls adorning his ceremonial armor, trophies from species now extinct. Another primitive world to cleanse, he remarked to his second-in-command, Vorthax, a battle-scarred veteran whose left side was now mostly cybernetic after their last conquest. The reports suggest they've barely achieved interplanetary travel. Vorthax's mechanical eye whirred as it focused. The Emperor grows impatient with these minor conquests, Admiral. He expects the resources of this system to fuel our expansion into the galactic core. The Emperor will have his resources, Calzan replied, his mandibles clicking with irritation. This system contains abundant heavy metals and water. The biological specimens will make acceptable additions to our labor pools before final processing. Their advanced scout ships, sleek and predatory, reported unusual energy fluctuations from Earth's orbital defenses. Intrigued, Calzan ordered a detailed scan of Earth's newest vessel, the UES Defiant, currently performing maneuvers near Mars. Curious design, Khalzan mused, studying the human ship through the viewport. The vessel was angular and utilitarian, lacking the organic-mechanical integration that characterized Varaxian engineering. It shows no appreciation for the aesthetics of conquest. The holographic readout materialized before the command staff, displaying the ship's specifications. The Varaxian science officer, Taz-Kalim, a spindly figure with elongated digits specialized for delicate instrumentation, laughed dismissively. "Their railguns are primitive kinetics," he reported, scrolling through the data with evident disdain. "Their shields couldn't withstand even our smallest cruiser's weapons. And that propulsion system? It's barely better than solar sailing." Sub-Commander Nexaval, head of intelligence operations, nodded in agreement. "Their communications are not even encrypted by our standards. We've already extracted their tactical databases." Khalzan studied the readout more carefully, noticing something odd about the ship's power distribution. Energy signatures pulsed in unexpected patterns, flowing through the vessel's systems in ways their analysts couldn't quite explain. Before he could inquire further, his intelligence chief interrupted. "Admiral, we've intercepted their communications," Nexval announced. "They're calling this their flagship, their best technology. Their military leaders speak of it with great pride." The command deck erupted in chittering laughter. Khalzan silenced them with a raised claw, his instincts honed by centuries of conquest, warning him against overconfidence. "Complacency leads to extinction," he reminded his officers, quoting an ancient Varaxian military axiom. "Scan the vessel again. I want to understand this. Inefficient power distribution." Taz-Kalim bowed deferentially. "Of course, Admiral, though I assure you, it's merely evidence of their primitive engineering. They likely don't understand the principles of quantum resonance. The conquest fleet is assembled and awaiting your command," Vorthax reported. "Shall we begin the standard approach? The purification beams can cleanse their orbital defenses within hours." Khalzan's gaze lingered on the small blue planet and its seemingly insignificant defender. Something about the defiance nagged at his instincts. But after 17 successful conquests, perhaps he was becoming unnecessarily cautious. "Prepare the harvest fleet," he finally ordered, suppressing his unease. "Let's add another skull to our collection."